Good morning students, I welcome you all for the online class of business studies. Today we will be going to start a new chapter after the sources of business finance. The next chapter is small business. First of all, the meaning of small business student. What do you think small business? The business which with a less investment when it is started, it is known as small business. Generally, like India like country which is developing will be having maximum number of industries set up or small scale, because people here are not so developed, are not so highly rich that they will be having only the large scale industries. Here the businessman generally starts the business with a low income, low investment. So because of that, generally the industry which was set up in India and other developing countries are small scale industry, and you can say there are the base for the rich for the large scale industries also, because these small scale industries does production of all the raw material which is needed and which is again further processed in the large scale industries. These are the base industry for the development of the country as well as the base for the large scale industry. That's why it is known as small scale business. This chapter we will be going to learn meaning of small business, importance of small scale business, scope of small business, then the small business role in rural India, problems of small business, how government assist and give special schemes for the small scale business, financial institutions set up for small business in rural, backward and hilly area. This all we will be going to learn in this chapter. Let us learn introduction part. When we introduce the chapter, student, the very first part says that the small scale enterprise exists in every country of the world, but in a developing country like India, small scale enterprise occupies special place as there is scarcity of capital and abundance of labor, and small scale enterprise use labor intensive or capital intensive saving techniques. Okay, there are really some of the industries which are using the capital intensive technique mostly. Now also the small scale industry are dependent on labor intensive more. There are having very less number of machineries used in the business, because as the investment is very low, the low investment they cannot invest for the big machines and heavy machines. Because of that, the machinery numbers are very less in the small scale business, and because of that they are now also dependent on labor intensive technique. And India like country where labors are more in number, small scale business get an opportunity to get the labors at a cheap rate. Okay, so that is also the reason that labor intensive technique is more, but still they has changed themselves to the modern techniques, modern way of learning. Meaning of small business, when we see definition, immediately after independence, small scale industry was defined by the Industries Development and Regulation Act, that is IDRA. So this had explained the meaning of small business, Industrial Development and Regulation Act 1951, that any enterprise which employs not more than 50 persons when using power and 100 when not using power, with capital assets not exceeding rupees 5 lakh is considered as small scale business. Now it has been extended to 8 lakhs. Okay, so Industrial Development and Regulation Act 1951, that time they had explained the meaning of small business as that company which employs not more than 50% when using power, means capital intensive technique. When they are using, their employees are 50 in number, not more than 50. And labor intensive technique, when they are using and they are having the less power utilization, they were having 100 persons, not more than 100 persons as employed. That industry will be considered as small scale business, and the investment is rupees not exceed 5 lakh, but now the investment must not exceed rupees 8 lakh. Later on it was 1959, 1960, 1966, 1975, 80, 90. The definition was revised. It means it has been changed according to the changing time. It has been revised maybe in the number of employees, maybe number of investment. As I said, now it is 8 lakh. Below 8 lakh the investment the company who is doing, it is coming in the small scale business. Meaning a new classification of small business as per MSMED Act 2006, micro and small scale. It is MSMED Act, that is Micro, Small, Medium Enterprise Act. New nomenclature, new law has been formed, and classification of MSME has been done. Enterprises comprise of two: manufacturing enterprises, service enterprises. Manufacturing enterprises, when we see, ceiling on investment in plant and machinery, ceiling on investment in equipments, that is 25 lakh. Micro 25 lakh to minimum small service enterprises. When we see, there are two enterprises, one is goods and one is service enterprises. When they about the goods enterprises, it will be having manufacturing expenses up to rupees 25 lakh, whereas service enterprises, it will be has to have the rupees 10 lakh. Manufacturing expenses enterprises must have rupees 5 crore. Small scale, it will be considered as small when the budget is rupees 5 crore, and in the service enterprise, it will be considered as small scale when it is rupees 2 crore. Medium term enterprises, new according to new nomenclature, it will be rupees 10 crore if the business is running, it is medium scale, and service enterprises rupees 5 crore. This is the amount investment in the particular companies, micro, small and medium. Then it will be considered as micro industry, small industry and medium industry. Now we will be going to learn characteristic features of small scale industry. When we go with the characteristic features of small scale industry, student, there are the following characteristic features of small scale industry, which are very first, personal character. The personal character says that a small scale unit is generally owned by a single entrepreneur or partnership. So personal character is the main feature of this enterprise. What is the personal character? States that the small scale unit is generally owned by how many units? Single entrepreneur or partnership. So personal character is the main feature of this enterprise. Second, independent management. Definitely students, small scale enterprise are generally managed by owners only. So there is the advantage of direct motivation, personal care, secrecy, flexibility, etc. It is run independently as the budget is very low. Because of that, they are not have the experts. They are managing their business. They are trying to manage their business in their best way by themselves. Dominance of labor, definitely in small scale industry, scope of business is very small, and here the labors are dominated. Has labor intensive techniques, this unit do not prefer mechanized method of production. Limited investment. Investment generally in the small scale business is low. Less capital investment is there because it does not employ highly mechanized means of production. Limited area of operation, definitely has investment is less. Because of that, operation activity is generally having limited area. It operates in a compact area, however products are exported all over the world. Yes, definitely the products of small scale industries are highly sold in all over the country, though it is having high techniques. Engage in light consumer goods. The small scale industries are mostly engaged in production of light consumer goods and processing activities. So there are engaged in light consumer goods, as small scale industries are mostly engaged in the production of light consumer goods and processing activities. Role of small business in rural India, when we see, so these were the characteristic students. Personal characters explains that it is a small scale industry. Independent management, generally small scale industry prefer. There is a dominance of labor because the whole industry depended on the labor intensive technique only. Limited investment, has definitely the scale of investment is very low in the small scale industry. Limited area of operation, small scale enterprise generally operates in a compact area, however products are exported all over the world. Located in rural and semi-urban areas, most of the small-scale enterprises are located in rural or semi-urban areas due to easy availability of labor. Engage in light consumer goods only. Next is role of small business in rural India. Small scale industries generally provide the following benefits in rural India. There are as follows. Employment. Small scale enterprises are labor intensive, so they provide additional employment to men and women. Next to agriculture, small business constitute the most popular occupation of people of India. They also provide employment to agriculturists who remain idle during a part of year. So that is employment opportunity. The small scale industries are what? Labor intensive technique. So they provide what? Additional employment to men and women. Next to agriculture, small business constitute the most important occupations of people of India. Improves economic conditions. So in India, like country where unemployment problem is a big problem, their employment opportunity can be increased by increasing the number of small scale industries. Improves economic condition. Definitely by the way of small scale industry, maximum people is getting employment opportunity. In that way we are seeing that if per capita income of the person is increasing, means if all the people will be employed, definitely the individual income will increasing. The per capita income increase will result in the economic development of the nation. So it improves economic condition. Improves of promotion of artistic and creative sense. Definitely small business set up in rural areas and provide scope for the promotion of artistic achievement like handicraft products are more given importance. Rural people are specialized in handicraft products, so they can have a business of that and they can make their development with this artistic and creative sense. Rural development. Small scale industry set up in basically in rural areas leads to their development, because less investment they will be getting at less cost the land at the rural areas, which may result in rural reconstruction, sustained growth, and the removal of regional disparity in the rural areas. People will get developed, their way of standard of living of the people will increase, the living the people will be easy because they will be getting employment opportunity in their own area. Mobilization of local resources. Small scale industries facilitate mobilization and utilization of local resources which might otherwise remain unutilized. This helps in tapping resources like entrepreneur skill and small savings, especially in rural areas. Next comes problems of small business in India. Definitely student, as we have learned the small business, there are various problems faced by the small business in India. The very first is the business face from shortage of funds. This is the main problem drawback of the small scale industry, that they are not able to modernize, they are not able to adapt the new technology, they remain from years and years from the old technology. So shortage of fund is a basic problem of small scale industries, as the investment is very less. With that investment, operational activities and other management activity become very difficult for small scale business. So small enterprises have a chronic shortage of finance both for fixed and working capital requirement. Shortage of funds has led to the closure of many small scale enterprises. The steps taken by the central and state government have not been adequate. The special financial institutions such as IDBI, IFCI, etc. mostly serve the financial needs of large enterprise, and commercial banks also hesitate to grant financial help to small business. Shortage of raw materials and power. Most of the small scale enterprises have shortage of raw materials and other equipment because of limited means to buy in bulk, and suppliers hesitate to provide credit facilities to small business. Shortage of power is another factor which leads to underutilization of plant capacity. All the small business enterprises cannot afford their own generator to continue production during the period of non-supply of power. Old techniques of production and lack of latest technical knowledge. Most of the small-scale enterprises are using old techniques of production because they cannot afford new techniques, machines and equipments necessary for modernizing of production. The margin of profit and small-scale units is generally low, due to which they cannot undertake innovative activities. As I already said, years and years they go with the old techniques of production. They are not able to change up with the new technique of production because of financial capacity. Marketing problem. Definitely this is another big problem of small scale industry. They are having the quality products, but they are not having the efforts to do marketing of the product, because still, and this make the demand of the product also low down, because if after the time we will be supplying the product in the market, then its demand will go down. So small scale enterprises face many difficulties in marketing their products because of many reasons, such as the cost of production is higher, so they cannot compete with large scale units. They cannot afford to have their own marketing organizations. Products of many small firms are not having uniform quality. They do not follow quality control. They create a problem in marketing. Sometimes they have to sell their product at very low prices as they require money immediately. Personal problems, when we see, securing the right type of person is a major problem of small business. A more important problem is the problem of proper training, reasonable compensation, etc. A small entrepreneur is often not having himself skill to bargain with trade unions. They cannot afford standardized techniques and process of selections. Imperfect organizational setup. In most of the small scale enterprises, the ownership and management functions are performed by the owner himself. As I already introduced, the investment is not high. Because of that, every maximum activity of the small scale industries are done by the owners themselves. They cannot hire the experts. They are not having such an investment that they can hire the expert. Generally, the owners may not have the necessary skills to manage the business. Also, there is no proper discussion of work among the people working in the organization. That is why these enterprises cannot have specialization. Managing requires a lot of knowledge, foresighted and training, which are often not found in the case of small business units. So that is imperfect organizational setup in the small scale business. So this was the various problems faced by the small scale business, and they really needs the solution, because if these problems of small scale business will not be done, definitely there will the small scale industry number will decline. And as I said, small scale industry number growth is a good point for the GDP growth of our country, because every individual cannot start a large scale industry. Small scale industry can be started up with medium scale investment. Because of that, most of the people, those who want to do self employment, they are ready to start the small scale business. And because of that, if the number of small scale industry will be more in our country, more the development of the people can be seen. Because a large scale industry with the limited people employment, they can give a source of income to less number of people, but large scale number of increase in the number of small scale industry will give increase in the number of employment opportunity to many people, because as we read, it is mostly the labor intensive technique. So this was for today's class, student. I hope you have understood the small scale business. Next class we will go to government measure for small scale business after we had completed the problems of small scale business. Thank you for today's class. Have a nice day.